I want to experiment with building a table saw from one of these circular saws. So I took one and removed everything unnecessary, including the blade guard, and I'm left with just the motor. I need to make some sort of mounting bracket for it, so I'm experimenting with just making these out of cardboard for now, just to kind of figure out how these will work out. So these will be pieces of plywood, maybe hinge it here and have some way of depth locking it here. Alright, way too much thinking here, so it's time to just take these, and I've taken this one here and kind of constructed a geometric shape that matches the cardboard. So time to make some sawdust. Got my plywood pieces cut out and fit around the saw with some spacers in between. Right now it's just kind of clamped together to see how it goes. And here it is upside down. Now, one thing that's very important at this stage is to make sure I can actually get the saw blade in there. It has to be parallel to the rest of the frame here. It looks to be about parallel in the vertical direction, and then along this direction it looks pretty parallel as well, so far so good. Of course, this is only temporarily assembled. Next challenge is, can I get the saw out? Okay, good. If I can get it out, that means I should be able to get it back in once this is fully attached. I'm just putting the other half on with screws for now, so I can still take it apart and make adjustments. It's a very tight fit, and the handle actually pushes up against this side here, which is convenient. And on this side, I'm going to put a spacer in here to hold this part at the correct distance so that this blade is lined up in this direction, not like this or like this. I thought I'd have to shim the back of the motor to get this into alignment in this direction, but it turns out the blade is already perpendicular to this part here, and these two are actually perpendicular to the plywood itself, so it looks like I'm pretty lucky. I don't need to shim anything. The way the depth adjustment is supposed to work is I'm going to have some kind of a pin here, and then from the operator side, which is this side, I can just tilt this whole saw to reduce the depth. But I also want to be able to tilt it to make bevel cuts. And so this whole saw is actually going to be on the subframe that's going to be hinged, I think. So this is actually going to be my subframe, and I've just marked out the outline of where the saw needs to go. I had to cut this one back a little bit to leave room for the power cord. So I need something to lock this saw in a particular position up and down. And I was initially thinking of maybe a bolt across here and something with a slot in on either side and just clamp that together. But that gets tricky because the hinge needs to mount here, so I don't really have any room to mount this. And then I was thinking maybe something between, but that I don't want to really squeeze these things together to cause pressure. So the idea I've come up with is to put something on the front, but this is curved. This follows a curved path as it goes up and down. So I actually made a curved piece of wood to match that, and that's actually just cut out of a piece of 2x4. And that goes right here, and when this thing goes up and down, it follows that curve, so this doesn't have to move. And then there's going to be some nut through here and a knob on here, and I need to cut a slot here. So this is how the saw is going to go on the bottom of the table. So let's move the saw all the way down. And the hinges are going to go on here, I think probably like this, because I want that hinge pin to be as far up as possible. And then for the table, I'm actually going to use a nice piece of birch plywood because I think this is actually going to work. With these cavities routed out, I can get the saw a little bit more into the wood, which gets me a little bit more depth of cutback. The hinges go here, but I still have a bit of space between this bracket and the plywood, so I will probably put another layer of plywood in here, and also around here I'll probably add some more plywood to reinforce this. Got the extra plywood layers glued on now. These door hinges have the screw holes far from the actual hinge pin because that's best for a door, but I want the mounting holes close to the hinge pin for maximum strength, so I drilled a few extra holes in there, and I also countersunk them with a larger drill bit. Now with the hinges secured in place, I've got some spacers to hold this platform level, so now making sure that the saw lines up with my cutouts in here, I can now put this on here and mark where I need the actual hole locations. I haven't got anything for locking the angle in place yet, but I'm really keen on finding out how this thing is actually going to work. So I'm just going to put a blade in there to give this thing a try. There's my roof vents for now, lined up with the slot. Let's raise the blade. I think the video is going to be long enough already, so I will finish it up in another video. Unless, of course, these experiments have killed me by then. In that case, there wouldn't be a video.